Hello, good morning, and welcome to day 457 of the GBDURO. That one's for you, Rob Weir, your Instagram reel to start the morning. It is day 4. We're 20 minutes to 9 in the morning, so we're about to do our overnight recap and look at what the day ahead has in store. But I'm really pleased to be joined this morning by Lucy Wood, who was one of last year's GBDURO finishers, part of the Only Pairs entry, and they finished in joint 6th place overall. Lucy is a Bristol-based adventure off-road cyclist who is really focused on getting more women into cycling. Does so through a Monday night cycling club off-road that we'll have her speak a little bit more about in a bit. Lucy has raced twice with race partner Cordelia, but this year they decided to take a little break from racing, so they are just back from leisure bikepacking around Georgia. So hopefully that was slightly less stressful than taking on something like the GBDURO or the Dorset Divide where you met. I'd love to hear more about Cordelia and pairs racing. But to start, I think we recently saw you just there at the Bristol Balloon Fair yesterday, a couple days ago. And so we're glad to have caught you after that and got you here joining us. So you've already seen some of these racers.
Yeah, so I watched, joint watched the balloons and the riders come through on Sunday evening. So it was fun. Took my musical instruments to support. So I had bells and various horns and some friends to give people a cheer as they came in. So that was fun to hear about their last couple of hours before they got into Bristol. I think they were all heading off to get some food normally.
Yeah, it looked like a fantastic evening.
Yeah.
And thanks to Claire for putting that video together for us in Instagram. Yeah, so welcome. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, can't wait to hear more about pairs racing, about your experience with the GBDURO. Before we get too far into that, let's take a quick look at the overnight updates. We didn't see all that many changes in position overnight. It looked like most people slept. The big news, I think, to start the morning is we've got 2 scratches in. Hello from the edit. I have a confession to make. I misread this morning's messages about Dan's scratch. When we recorded this with Lucy, I said that Dan O'Connor scratched, and that is absolutely wrong. It is Daniel Hodson that scratched first thing this morning due to a knee issue. It's been niggling, bothering him all race, and finally messaged the group this morning saying, just can't take it anymore. But I didn't read closely enough, and I just saw Dan and reported the wrong one. So, I'm sorry. I'm cutting into the recording to update that here. Dan O'Connor is very much still in the race, and we're sending well wishes to Daniel Hodson. I'm very, very sorry if I mentioned Dan O'Connor's name as a scratched rider later in the episode. I will try to catch it, but I can't guarantee. Back to the original recording. And not long after, Tudor Gillum also had to pull the plug for a knee issue of his own, and we're sad to see both of them go. Tudor has done a lot to contribute to the GBDURO over the years by taking photos, so we're glad that we finally got some good photos of Tudor. It did cross my mind to suggest that they take their 2 knees together and get on a tandem, but I thought maybe it was a bit too soon to get into that. So yeah, 2 scratches there, which is a real shame to see them go. We didn't see a whole lot of movement in the field overnight. Like I said, most people slept. Although with an early start, we've got Henry all the way through Manchester and Tom just approaching Manchester now. Let's take a little closer look and see where we are. Got a couple riders camped out here. That's grayed out dots from scratched riders, James and Tudor. And just to give a sense of how far ahead James was, still hasn't been overtaken by everybody in terms of where that dot is. Lucy, who do you know on the course so far?
I know Mike.
Mike.
Who's, I think that person, there.
Yeah.
So I actually rode with him at parts last year, we were overlapping and comparing food choices at all points.
Oh, yeah.
He advised me on not eating too many bananas because I might get potassium poisoning. And we were sharing, we shared a love for tinned pineapple at points.
Oh,
I can't remember if he liked that or not. We were eating it.
I've seen
and
him
I can't
upload a
remember
photo
either.
of tinned pineapple already this year.
Yeah. So we shared food choices. And then Ross, he always hosts everyone.
Yeah.
Before, like the night before, because he lives really close to the start.
Where are you, Ross?
So I saw him come through Bristol.
We've got Ross
on Sunday.
up here.
There he is, yeah. So that's been fun. And then Pieter, I think it is.
Peter.
Yeah, there. We actually met him. He knows this Welsh bit. He did that last year.
Ah.
He was on a bikepacking trip with a friend, and actually had dinner with a big group of us that were all sheltering from rain.
Oh.
In a pub.
So rather different conditions then.
Yeah, very different conditions. But he passed. I saw him coming through Bristol, and he said he was inspired by all of us from last year to give it a go. So
wow,
I'm rooting for him to carry on enjoying it, because this bit he's already done. So I'm hopeful he keeps going and gets the way up.
Hopefully you're still in his good books at this point with all that sunshine.
Yeah, because we were only through the Welsh bit at that point.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We couldn't inform him about anything further. But I think he followed the whole race after that.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to see how Pieter continues. I said James was grayed out earlier. He's actually all the way up here. People still haven't overtaken him. Yeah, I'm not going to go back and do overnight replays. We've got people are roughly in the same spacing that we saw them last night. I know one of our photographers was a little bit disappointed that Henry went and had a sleep, because was getting ready to pap him in Manchester, and Henry stopped and slept a bit before the city. So we missed those photos. I still don't know if I've seen a photo of Henry. Is so far out in front.
First.
Yeah. We've got our pairs entry, Sam and Todd, who are doing really well this year. Richard holding pace. And where are we as we come out of Wales? Looks like Rhys is just in our last little village in Wales. I remember being there on a Sunday night or something. Everybody was having a party and I wasn't. And Tom is in the suburbs, and we've got Henry making his way into the Pennines already, which is, wow. We'll talk a bit more about the Pennines as they come. Let's have a look at tail end of yesterday. Looked like we did see some rain. I don't know where or when, but my guess is it was pretty localized. Still fairly dry out there. And I grabbed this snap from Joe, just highlighting heat without any wind is very draining. So I think it was a tough day out there yesterday. But saying that, Joe still found that the gap was, I don't want to say easy. I said nobody would say it's easy, but it sounds like it was at least less hard than the first time Joe encountered it. I don't know what your recollections of that bit are, Lucy.
I remember walking. There's quite a funny photo of me and Cordelia. Well, Cordelia was down the bottom and I'm like at the top of this like steep bit, hiking down. And then we had a very good time. Then we were on mountain bikes. We actually made the choice to take hardtail mountain bikes.
Okay.
Which I'd be intrigued. Most people seem to on gravel bikes with no suspension. So we did have the luxury of a bit of front suspension, which did make some of the more technical bits a bit more fun, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least a bit less bouncy.
I can imagine. So would you make the same choice again?
Yes. Yeah, I would. I think in terms of the longevity of my wrists and body, it made a massive difference. I could still hold a spoon by the end, whereas
oh yeah,
some of the other gravel bike riders definitely couldn't. So yeah, I rated that choice. Though occasionally on the road, you were like, oh, it would be quite nice just to not have wide handlebars, but we put aero bars on. So
Yeah, aero bars make up for quite a lot of that. I think, I don't know if this was your experience, but I feel like most people I've spoken to that completed the race, whatever bike they finished on, they said if they were coming back, they would do it on a mountain bike. It really does beat you up, as evidenced by the scratch rate so far. Yeah. So talking of pairs, you obviously got some extra photos out of that. I want to know what it was like racing as a pair, because we've got Todd and Sam doing really well, seem to be working really well together. I was saying to you just before we started the recording here that my take on ultras is anyone who's ridden a bike for more than about 3 hours knows what highs and lows are like. And the ultra just kind of takes those to an absolute extreme. So I can't quite fathom what it's like to manage a partner relationship in terms of racing together through that. How is that? What's your experience of it?
Well, for context, me and Cordelia are very good friends. So we've lived together.
Okay.
We've spent quite a lot of time together. So I think that helped to begin with, because we kind of knew what made each other tick, I guess. And we'd probably experienced some of the highs and lows of each other a bit before.
Okay.
But definitely not, as you said, that like extreme level. I found it really nice having someone else there to share those highs and lows. So sometimes we weren't on the same high or the same low at the same time, which was for better or for worse. But it was pretty amazing. You become very close to that person because you are going through these quite like peaks and troughs and like helping each other through. So, I mean, we definitely became like closer over that time. And you get a lot better at having to share when you're feeling like really bad. I wasn't that great at the beginning when we started training.
Okay.
Sharing if I felt really sick or if something wasn't quite right, I'd just sort of keep going.
Okay.
And Cordelia actually got a lot better at, like, she was always much better at sharing that, but she was good at encouraging me to share that. So then we became quite good.
Okay.
Our communication improved significantly. So then I would actually share when I felt really sick or something so we could help each other out.
So the machine was running even smoother by the end of the race.
Yes, you get used to each other and like what makes you work. Like there's negatives of racing a pair in that like some things could take longer. Like there's two of you needing to stop for the toilet. There's two of you who might have issues, might have a flat tire, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. But equally, you've got that positive that you've got someone else to remember things, to like be like, oh, when we get into that town, I really fancy having that. And like when you are feeling really rubbish, you've got someone else to sort of bring you up. And I guess we had some real low points and then some real high points that you shared together, which was one of the nicest experiences, like being at that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, wow, we've like done that, or like look at that view, or like it's finally stopped raining, like look, the sun's coming out, like wow. And like having someone else there to share that moment was really quite like amazing. Like some of my favorite memories are just us being like, wow, this is really cool.
Sounds incredible. Even just you telling that, I'm finding myself going to highs and lows, imagining like, oh, I wish I had someone with me for that bit. And also, oh, I'm not sure I would want to be witnessed.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to be seen in that moment.
Yeah. Like it's different. I think like I haven't done loads of ultra racing.
Okay.
So as well, like to have the support of someone there, for like a sort of initial, like for when you've like got less experience, you do just have someone else there to be like, oh, like, is it a good idea to go up that climb right now because there's like a massive storm coming in, or like to make those decisions, especially when you're tired. I really valued having that support there. So would really recommend it for people like who haven't necessarily like taken that step into ultra racing. If you are able to do it as a pair, you've got someone else to like bounce those sort of decisions, which when you're tired are just harder to make off someone else.
Yeah, I can imagine. We'll come back to entering ultra racing because I am curious to hear more from you about that. But it sounds like you're definitely an advocate of trying a pairs entry if that's maybe a way in for you. Mm-hmm. Continuing on through our little stack of photo updates from yesterday, we see Mike, who you leapfrogged last year with, finding himself struggling to get drinking water without single-use plastic, which I suppose is kind of the point of the whole exercise, right? Is ending up having those conversations with a shop saying, sorry, I can't take that single-use plastic bottle. What is the other solution? And if enough people say that, then that starts to change the behavior of retailers as well.
Yeah.
You were saying to me that you and Cordelia started out on a plastic-free mission and probably found some of your own challenges with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. We were really keen to do the whole race plastic-free. And well, like you're saying, we had a lot of really interesting conversations. We found an amazing bakery in Wales that actually were plastic-free. And that was a great find. And then lots of other places we had various different bags or boxes that we were reusing.
Yeah.
And we'd be taking our thing in and being like, we don't want your little plastic bag. Can we have it in this? Which did just create lots of conversations. And lots of people were very, very interested in it.
Yeah. So I think I've known that, but hadn't quite conceptualized that a big part of it is about the conversations that you have along the way.
It definitely made food. We used a lot more like cafes and restaurants, I guess.
Yeah.
Because when we went to the supermarket, there was a lot more limited options of what you could buy.
Yeah.
So it actually did affect.
Seems like a tin opener is a must, which is not something I would have thought to pack for an ultra.
Our nutrition strategy did change somewhat, because certain things that we'd normally have, like, we couldn't buy because they didn't stock it in plastic free.
Yeah.
And that actually was the reason why we ended up not completing it. I mean, we were very wet and all of our boxes and bags were getting quite unhygienic and quite dirty. And we started getting a bit worried we were going to get a bit ill.
I can only imagine.
So that was that was basically our end point.
Yeah.
Along with Scotland had a lot fewer resupplies and we started to struggle.
Yeah, a lot fewer and a lot smaller.
Yeah.
Less options. As someone who was not necessarily trying to avoid using plastic, I got through that first big rainstorm in Wales and so many people's electronics had wetted out. That was when I learned it doesn't matter if you have waterproof bike bags. You kind of needed your stuff in something waterproof inside. So it was this constant, like anytime someone gave me any plastic, I was going, oh, I'm going to wrap this piece of electronics in it. I'm going to wrap this piece. So I do not envy the challenge that you face trying to keep stuff dry and food separate from electronics and clothing and hygienic items during all of that. Let's move on and take a look at, we had a gorgeous sunset last night. Thanks to, who is that? Is that Dan? Oh, I should have kept track of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm afraid.
I'll give a better credit there. And to Todd here for a lovely Welsh evening sunset. And just to make sure we don't feel too comfortable with it all, that pink sky is not just the sunset. Looks like it was from a fire, which is potentially a rising concern as things stay so dry, since we've seen more and more brush fires here. I know I grew up with a lot of that in California and concerns about air quality and can you ride with all of that. We haven't experienced that quite so much here in the UK, but it looks like it could be a possibility. So, it's not all sunshine and rainbows with sunshine in this world. We do maybe still need some rainbows here and there. I guess all continuing reminders, the plastic stuff, the weather changes, all continuing reminders of environmental responsibilities here. Looked like a nice dry morning, unless you were trying to make your way across the ground. I was saying to you before, I remember that was not long after the checkpoint where we'd all dried our socks. So was a frustrating start to the day, but still absolutely gorgeous. So thanks, Todd, for sharing that one. And I think that takes us in a bit more to what's coming up ahead, which as riders make their way out of Wales through Manchester and then on north, they're headed into the Pennine Bridleway. And thankfully, I would bet it looks a lot drier than this. This is my scratch report from the Dales Divide last year. So I didn't actually have any photos of the Pennine Bridleway when I did it, because I did it through the night in the rain and it was just unpleasant. But actually, this photo was the moment I decided to scratch, because even a year later, it was even muddier. And I was on the exact same track from the GBDURO, but going the other way. And I just thought, I don't need to be doing this. And bailed out. It sounded like your run at the Pennine Bridleway was fairly wet as well. What can you tell us about the Pennine Bridleway? What's coming up for these riders?
It was very wet. I hope for them it looks like it could be very sunny. So they're probably going to have the opposite level of... They're going to be struggling with it. A heat stroke more than soaking wet. We came out of Manchester it was pouring with rain, and we saw loads of riders all in a cafe and joined them for a bit. That was my vivid memory at the beginning, was we were just entering the Pennines and we passed a cafe. We had agreed we weren't going to stop for a bit. We passed a cafe with lots of bikes, probably like 3 bikes outside. And then we both looked at each other and went, maybe we should stop. So we did, and had a big breakfast and then carried on. In the evening, we had a great time we found, it was like a pub with a bunkhouse. And I can vividly remember we were planning on camping a lot.
Okay.
And the weather had been so bad, we kept finding indoor accommodation to try and dry stuff.
Yeah.
And basically look after ourselves a bit over the course of the race. And it was a bunkhouse with 3-story bunk beds.
Ooh.
Complete with a set of toiletries. I think other people had left them.
Wow.
And we were very excited for that. We were photographed. They were waiting for us in the dark as we bumped off the Pennine Bridleway. We'd been up quite high, and I can remember descending down, and there was this flash of light, which was the camera. As they had been waiting. I think they've been wondering what we've been doing, because we were faffing around at the top, putting on loads of layers so we didn't get cold.
Oh, yeah.
And these poor photographers were waiting at the bottom for us, and probably been waiting there for an hour or so. Have to come down.
I don't know that it's very glamorous doing the photography on something like this either.
Lots of waiting in the rain.
Maybe yesterday, standing out sunbathing. But yeah. So wet above and below that year? Last year?
Above and...
As in it was raining and it was muddy?
It was raining. It was muddy. I mean, my residing memory is it was very wet.
Okay.
And I think associated to that was quite a lot of mud. Our stuff was permanently quite dirty.
Yeah.
I remember we actually diverted. The next morning, we'd stayed overnight, and we actually met a fellow rider, Caroline. She also stayed in the same place as us. And the next day, there was I think it was Storm Lillian or something.
Okay.
And we actually made the decision to ride. There was a big climb, and we just made the decision to ride that bit together. So we left together at about 5 a.m, and it was pouring with rain and blowing a gale, and we were like, oh god. And we climbed up this top, and I actually got blown off my bike. We went round the corner, and the wind just caught me, and my whole bike just blew. So we actually made the decision. We came down into, I think it was Hawes or somewhere, just before Great Dunfell. It was probably a couple of hours before Great Dunfell, and stopped I bought some new socks because I was absolutely freezing. And I'd made the decision to have some quite thin socks. I bought some thick socks, and we stocked up on lots of food. And then it actually got sunny. We had quite a nice... Great Dunfell's a big road climb, and then you go off
in there.
You go off over into a sort of hike bike section.
Yes,
for quite some time.
I think in our WhatsApp group it was dubbed the Bog of Eternal Stench.
Yes, that was very, very wet, and my bike had been nicknamed the Beast.
Okay,
as I did have quite a lot of stuff on it, and I'm fairly small, and then I was lugging this thing around, and the hiker bike was quite strenuous for me pulling it around.
Yeah.
But I remember we had a really nice. It was a kind of gravel descent.
Yeah.
You eventually got to. And
once you get to the end of the walking path.
Sun was going down, and we were just going down that, and I felt so content. And then there was like an owl just came over and like swooped over, and there was just everything was just happening. And you felt, I was like, oh,
Oh, incredible.
it was like one of those high moments on the ultra race after you've done something very hard.
Yeah. Were the two of you prepared for that hike-a-bike section? Did you know it was coming?
We knew it was coming.
Okay.
It was a section that we had been nervous about.
Okay.
We were very aware it was coming, and we were quite nervous about it. We'd done a fair amount of looking at that bit.
Okay.
And I think because there'd been this storm in the morning, it settled down a bit, but we'd been a bit in like anticipation the whole day that we knew that was coming. And we didn't really want to be stuck in that section in horrific weather.
So if you had to do it again, would you rather know it was coming or not know it was coming?
I like to be prepared.
Okay.
I'm glad I knew it was coming. It did mean that the whole day I was in anticipation that this thing was coming.
Okay.
And inevitably, like, when you're there, you can't do anything about it, whether it's bad or not. So, but I'd heard enough people say that there was that bit after Great Dunfell that I knew it was there.
Yeah, I asked because I hadn't done my research. I just saw the elevation profile and was like, great, when I get over the top of that, and I guess you didn't have the checkpoints, but we had checkpoint here at Garrigal. So I knew the clock was going to stop there. And I'd looked at the thing and gone, right, when I get over the top of Great Dunfell, it's downhill. I'll just get to roll and coast. I'm done.
Nope.
So that was an unpleasant surprise. Throughout the Bridleway, though, there's several very different sections around it.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things that I remember people talking about quite a lot is the number of gates to open and close. Yeah.
That was an advantage of a pair. You can come up with a
yeah.
bit of a system. One of you can go, especially if you can see the gates, one of you can close the gate.
So you only stop at every other one?
Yeah. But they were it really breaks up your rhythm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of on-off.
Yeah.
I mean, there was lots of chat when you saw someone of how you were doing your mounting, whether you were like, people were doing different mounting options to try and speed things up. But
oh, yeah. Have you got the cyclocross flying mount down?
No, I wasn't doing that. I thought that required too much energy, actually.
Yeah.
I was just on, off, yeah.
It's one of those, I feel like even if I was practiced at it, I'm just a bit too risk averse in these things. I would say I would much rather take the extra effort to mount slowly than to have the story of how I had to scratch in the middle of a race because I was too knackered to do the jump anymore. Yeah. So a tough section, but not anything that's going to break people. Maybe testing our patience.
Yeah, I remember it being. It's like lots of up and down.
Yeah.
Some quite steep little bits, and I can remember really starting to notice there that like I no longer had that like energy in my legs, like to do a quick like I couldn't like. I think it like the ultra like the long distance had started really settling in.
Okay.
Whereas in Wales, some of the steep gradients, I could still. It was like I really noticed then that the legs were starting to feel that distance that they'd been doing.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether some of the riders would be fair.
Had you ever ridden any of that section or any similar stuff fresh? No.
It was all completely new, that section to me. I'd never ridden there at all. So that was really exciting for me.
Okay.
Because it was a section, I'd done quite a lot of Wales riding because that was quite close to Bristol where I'm based, but I'd never actually ridden there. So it was all completely new. So I never really knew what was coming, which was really lovely. And we had like, much as we had bad weather, there was some moments where it was like really nice. And then you'd be like looking out across these like lovely, you just see for miles, and it was like amazing.
Wow. Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
You're talking about at that point starting to really feel the fatigue of it. Obviously, we've had some scratches this morning brought on by overuse injuries, and those are not the first overuse injuries we've seen. That's only started day 4. It's obviously a very different thing doing even long days out back to back versus doing 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 days on the trot. What kind of overuse injuries did you encounter or witness during your experience?
So the year I did it, loads of people scratched as well because of knees.
Yeah.
I've had various knee issues in the past. And then I had like an ongoing Achilles issue
Oof.
when I was doing it. But the main thing, I mean, we've really focused on looking after ourselves
Okay.
while we're doing it. And as soon as our sort of tactic was, if you noticed something was a bit wrong, to try and sort it out, like, because of
Stop
like
and
the
fix
amount
it,
of
yeah.
times you were just like doing those revolutions, if you had a bit of a niggle,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe someone might say otherwise, but as soon as I had a niggle doing any sort of training or whatever for it, if I just carried on and ignored it, it normally got worse. So like I'd try and like adjust my seat or my cleat position or something,
Yeah.
just try and like keep it in check. And like we changed our strategy because of it being so wet
Okay.
to sleep inside a bit more, to just try and give
Which
our
also helped,
bodies
yeah.
a bit of a chance to dry out and
Yeah.
recover, to try and prevent a bit of like saddle sores and other injury kind of things.
Okay. Well, looks like for the most part our field are doing all right, looking after themselves, but it is tough. It is just so many more pedal revolutions than anything else. Anything that even ultra racers do. Talking of things that ultra racers do and that other riders don't do, curious to hear a bit more about your journey into the ultra scene. You said that Dorset Divide with Cordelia was your first, and that you sort of got into that almost by accident. Tell us a bit more about how did you get into this?
Well, me and Cordelia were friends, and we both got gravel bikes, and we entered Dorset Divide. I'm not really sure why we saw it advertised. We're like, oh, that looks quite fun, sort of thing. We'd like entered it, and it's a bit of a theme here. Every time you do a race, there seems to be bad weather. It rained. It absolutely chucked it with rain one day and was blowing a gale another day. It was okay weather one of the other days, but we absolutely loved it. And there was such a nice like community of people, all like super supportive of like each other, and it was really nice. So we came back from that buzzing, and a friend in Bristol called Ollie Young had done GBDURO a couple of years previously, and he was also at Dorset Divide, and we knew him from cycling Bristol, and he was like, I think you guys would really like GBDURO. So he basically like convinced us that it was a great idea. So I think it was mainly like people, really like conversations and people like suggesting different things and like chatting to people that kind of got me to do it, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much did doing it as a pairs entry affect your level of confidence to finally take something on like that?
I think it really helped.
Yeah.
I'd never done anything. I'd done quite a lot of like bike packing trips, and like sort of different cycling things and stuff, either with other people or on my own, but I'd never done like a big race like GBDURO before. So it was really nice to prepare with someone else. Just not just the race, like, I mean, like, you'll know, like, there's a lot of preparation that goes into things before, like whether it's like kit choices or your nutrition or even just like the training. And to do that with like, well, I was lucky because it was like one of my best friends. Like to do that with her was like really fun. Even though it was quite a lot alongside like working and stuff. We were always like, oh god, we've now got to work out where all these things are going to go on our bike, whatever.
I mean, sometimes even just having the opportunity to talk those decisions out loud rather than stood there in the bike room looking at all this kit, trying to make up your mind and not really knowing where to even start your decision making there.
Yeah.
So sounds like it's the community really that welcomed you in, that made it feel like this is the thing. How should someone connect with that community if they're not already in it?
I guess there's various races now that are like, if you're interested in doing like something super long, but not really sure like where to begin, I guess there are like shorter races. Like if you didn't want to start off with like GBDURO, say there's like 1 day or 2 day races. I know a lot of them, to try and become more inclusive at the moment, have put on like different like lead rides, or I don't know. I know like around Bristol, I know like mountain bike epics, for example, have put on like a multi-day lead ride, or like have an overnight bit. So there's like a sort of different variation. So it's maybe not quite as like intense as having to work everything out yourself, but you still get that like initial experience. You've almost like broken into that, and you get to chat to other people doing it. So I think quite often, I mean, I don't know, from my experience, like just that unknown of like, oh, I don't know anyone, or I don't know what it's going to be like. Whereas actually, if you can talk to someone and share like some of those fears, it instantly make it better. And then, yeah, then you've sort of made that first. For me, it's like that unknown, and making that first step was quite hard. Whereas now, like, I feel more confident, I guess, to be like, oh, I want to do that.
Okay.
And like, I guess I've done that like initial bit, which is probably the hardest.
Yeah, it does. It seems like a very welcoming community if you're inside, and the question is, how do you get inside the community without having to commit to 11 days in whatever weather happens to come?
And I guess, like, especially when you're outside that community, or like, I know I was particularly nervous because like I actually at that moment when we like started doing Dorset Divide, I actually only had ever really seen like men doing that kind of thing, and didn't actually think as a woman that I didn't have anyone to like aspire to really. And now like I know there's loads of women out there that have done that kind of thing, and now follow quite a lot of races, and I can see different people doing things. But like actually becoming aware of that other community out there, and that the other like women out there doing that kind of thing was like a massive step into. And I think I'm quite lucky in Bristol. There is a lot of like women and inclusive clubs in general that are super supportive at getting people not only into ultra racing but like different things.
But I know you said you're doing something along those lines Monday evenings with your project.
There's a club in Bristol called Newtown Park, and we have on Monday evenings they run Trails Nails, which is great. We go for a trail ride, so an off-road ride, and then we go to the pub for an ale or a beverage of your choice. But we've been, so it's a very inclusive club and kind of caters to all speeds in the off-road riding. And then we've been running like women-only rides to try and encourage different women to get into it. And it's been it's a great community. Not only are we like riding, but people are sharing skills and like helping each other out, because everyone just has different experience and different skills that they can share amongst themselves.
It sounds like an incredible little sort of, I guess, subset of the community within the ultra racing community that I gather has really kind of blossomed in the last few years. Some big efforts from various event organizers and individual racers to really expand. If not the size of that community, certainly the visibility.
Like, I think it's so
the women's community in the ultra racing scene.
And like in Bristol, it kind of keeps bouncing. Like I know Cordelia, so my friend that I rode racing with, and one of our other friends, Athlin, have set up like they were inspired by a different scheme that I think Athlin was part of, but set up like role models. So that's been like mentor, like a mentor partnership kind of thing, to like, so people can ask questions and support each other. And I guess that's become really, it's not like some people are interested in doing like big ultra races, and some people just want to like go and have like a night camping or whatever. It's like a whole range of things, but it's just mean that like there's that community support to like chat about.
Sounds incredible. I'm going to ask you to plug details for how to connect with these particular endeavors that you're already talking about before we sign off.
I can send you that,
Yeah, and we'll go ahead and put in the post in writing so that people can click on stuff. I think I know we're coming up to the time that I said I'd let you go. Let's have a quick check-in on what we expect from the wind today. It looks like not a whole lot going on. Maybe a bit of a crosswind coming. Potentially a tailwind by tea time. Doesn't look like wind is going to be a major issue, except maybe in the way that Joe said there isn't any, and that's making the heat hotter. What is the heat looking like? We are now, that is tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., backing up. Yeah, here's 6 p.m., 1 p.m., Looks like if you're unlucky enough to be in Manchester
28 degrees.
at lunchtime, you could end up with a pretty hot day. It's even a fairly warm morning here in Wales, 20 degrees already at 9:15. And we said we saw a tiny little bit of rain last night or at some point yesterday. My guess is it's still fairly isolated. That was the wrong zoom. We want to see. I'm not doing so well with this. One more zoom in. And here we are. I'm not seeing anything major. Oh, let's play that through and see where those patches move. No, it looks like there's still possibility of isolated stuff, but nothing that's going to create, what did you say, Storm Lillian?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get blown off the bike today. It looks like we're more likely to have to deal with hardened ruts in dried mud than we are to actually have to clean any mud off of any bikes. Yeah, so I think really what we're looking at today is just how are we progressing as the fatigue sets in? Where are people going to make it to? Who's gonna really rip through this comparatively gentler bit along to Manchester? Who's going to use that as an opportunity to rest and recover? Who's going to maybe take a bit of a longer break to try to handle some overuse injuries that seem to be cropping up faster and faster as we go? And we'll be watching the outcome of today's dots with great interest. What else, Lucy? I know I said I was going to cover a lot. We've run over time. I need to let you plug your stuff and sign off. But what else do we want to cover before we get to that?
I'm excited just to keep watching the race unfold. Yeah, I don't know if I have much else to cover.
Fantastic. I just wanted to make sure I didn't skip over something that was really crucial that I said we were going to cover.
Covered most of the things that I wanted to talk about. Pairs racing, women racing. Giving a check-in on all the different people. I'm backing Joe now.
Yeah.
Only women left in the field, so.
I know, and doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Really strong ride and seems in great spirits.
Came through Bristol. So
yeah,
if you're out there, you can go and support them because it was great fun.
Yeah, Joe and Mike are nearby, but can I get it to zoom in on? Here we go. Dot watchers go out and cheer on Joe, who's the remaining female in the race, but I think is riding as a women's leader, even if there were another half dozen in there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lucy, for taking the time. It's really, really great to get to talk to another GBDURO racer and share some of those stories, talk about what's up ahead for our racers. And really excited to hear about your experiences and your efforts with getting more women into ultra racing and I guess just general off-road riding. I know I need you to plug Trails and Ales. Yeah, and potentially some other things. So if someone has seen, I don't know, a big high-profile ultra racer, Leo Wilcox finishing last week, or some documentary about Jenny Graham's around the world, and is curious about how they get from doing their first 100K to that point, I'm guessing you'd be keen to speak to them, especially if they're in and around Bristol. Mm-hmm. Where should they start? What ride should they do? How do they find Trails and Ales? How do they find you?
Where do they find me? I'm not very good on social media. I do have Instagram. I do check it occasionally, so they can find me on there. And then within Bristol, I mean Newtown Park, and the initiative I mentioned, Role Models, that Athlon and Cordelia have set up, has really worked well to get, I guess, more inclusive people, like a whole range of people involved into the cycling community. In terms of what events and stuff, I'm always a backer of, like, if you've got a local event as your first event, it's like an easier way forwards, I always think. because you haven't got to sort out masses of logistics to go to like the other end of the country or whatever. And if it's like, if you can find one in your city or town or like very nearby, it just cuts out that one extra level of like logistical planning. So you're already
trying to get home from John O'Groats.
Yeah. Big logistical issue at the end of that race was how do you get home? I haven't thought about that.
That was a tough chain gang the morning after, trying to get to Wick in time for that train.
We got on like a mini little bus. It was great fun.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, good. I mean, I think the main thing is like, give it a go. But there's a lot of like, I like know there's a lot of barriers in the way of doing that. And I think like, I know like lots of event organisers and stuff are trying to put in place great initiatives to get like different people in a more inclusive atmosphere of these events. So I've like watched that unfolding. But I guess like event organisers can only keep like doing that kind of thing and talking to, I guess, people who are involved to see if there's any other ideas on how to like do different things.
I think my big takeaway from what you've said is it's about being out there and having the conversations. So it doesn't matter. Well, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what initiatives organizers put together, but you could put together all the initiatives in the world, and if people don't hear about them, then they're never going to get in there. So getting out there, having conversations, and I guess treating your past racers as ambassadors, helping them to have conversations and just be available to talk. And I guess for those that are curious, send a message, ask a question, fire off an email, turn up to something, because it's the first question that's going to lead to the next conversation that will start to make it feel accessible. Lucy, I've taken you way over your time, so thank you so much. For those of you that are watching, hope you've found this useful and insightful, and that we've stayed close enough to the topic of a race update. Do let us know. I'll find some way to make sure that we can get comments or whatever. And I'll make sure that in the notes we include links to Trails and Ales. I keep having to look at my notes to make sure I definitely don't say it wrong. And we'll check in with all of our dot watchers again towards the end of the day. So thank you so much, everyone, and happy heat wave.